Japan's Divine Storm, Defeating Kublai Khan's Invasion. Chapter 1. The Execution That Started a War. 5 Mongolian diplomats knelt upon Kamakura's shoreline, necks extended, awaiting their execution. Their final view was the vast Pacific Ocean, though they longed for their homeland's endless grasslands. The swords fell swiftly. This brutal act represented Heijo-kyo's answer to Kublai Khan, the Mongolian Great Khan and Chinese Emperor. Japan would never surrender. Mount Fuji towered above the executed warriors. Kublai Khan dispatched another delegation, this time announcing invasion. The second group of envoys suffered identical fates on Kyushu's western beaches, where Mongolian forces had previously attempted landing in 1274. November 1274 witnessed massive Korean vessels carrying Mongolian warriors arriving at Hakata Bay. Captured Japanese islanders from Tsushima and Iki were horrifically bound to the ship's fronts. Organized shield formations advanced onto the beach, confusing Japanese samurai accustomed to traditional combat rituals. Heijo-kyo rested anxiously, contemplating Japan's history as Mongolian threats intensified. These represented Japan's first major foreign invasions. Drifting into sleep, he dreamed of Japan's ancient past. Chapter 2. The Divine Origins of Japan. On November 3, 711, Empress Genmei commanded court noble Yasumaro to record ancient legends. Yasumaro transformed myths into historical narrative, legitimizing imperial rule. He described how deities Izanagi and Izanami created Japan's islands, birthing sun goddess Amaterasu. Her grandson Nuniji descended as Earth's first ruler, while storm god Susanoo was banished for misconduct. These divine tales likely originated from historical figures. Amaterasu probably represented the legendary 3rd century shaman Queen Himiko. Yasumaro's work paralleled Rome's Aeneid, weaving mythology with fabrication to justify imperial authority. Chapter 3. Ancient Migrations and the Birth of a Nation. Japan's original inhabitants crossed land bridges from mainland Asia tens of thousands of years ago. These Jomon people, numbering perhaps 160,000, lived peacefully through hunting and gathering until new peoples arrived. The Yayoi peoples brought rice agriculture and fortified settlements, forever changing Japan. Ancient Japanese believed they descended from China's Wu Kingdom, destroyed when the Yayoi migrated. Archaeological evidence shows Yayoi peoples originated from Siberia, Mongolia, Manchuria, and Korea, with possible Southeast Asian connections. Chapter 4. Queen Himiko and the Age of Burial Mounds. Chinese records describe Queen Himiko ruling during the 3rd century through sorcery and magic. After 70 years of warfare, people appointed this unmarried woman as ruler. She lived isolated with 1,000 female attendants and 1 male servant. Upon her death, a massive burial mound was constructed with over 100 attendants following her into death. These burial mounds, called kofun, number 162,000 across Japan. The largest keyhole-shaped kofuns exceed 400 meters in length. Unlooted chambers contain paintings depicting court life and precious afterlife provisions. A young maiden danced toward her destiny, becoming one of 100 servants buried alive with Queen Himiko. Despite terror, she felt honored serving the ruler who brought peace through magical arts. Himiko had sent 4 diplomatic missions to China, receiving treasures including bronze mirrors, swords, military banners, and recognition as friend and ally of the Wei dynasty. Following Himiko's death, violence erupted until 13-year-old relative Iyo became queen, restoring order. This established a pattern of powerful female rulers throughout ancient Japan. Chapter 5. Buddhism arrives and transforms Japan. Buddhism arrived mid-6th century when Korean King Seong sent Buddhist teachings to Emperor Kinmei. Chief advisor Sogo no Iname recognized opportunity. Though plague initially caused Buddhism's rejection, Soga's descendants eventually established Buddhism as state religion. Prince Shotoku led military victory invoking Buddhist protection. Appointed head of government under Empress Suiko, Japan's longest-reigning female monarch, he made Buddhism the state religion. Together they established temples, diplomatic relations with China, calendars, and constitutional principles. Shotoku coined the term Land of the Rising Sun for Japan. Chapter 6. The Battle of Bangma River. A peasant conscript stood proudly watching Japanese reinforcement ships entering Korea's Bangma River in October 663. Baekje Kingdom, ancient Japanese ally, had fallen to Tang China and Silla alliance in 660. This massive Japanese armada represented Baekje's restoration hopes. 800 vessels filled the river until movement ceased. Hidden Chinese ships suddenly attacked with flaming arrows. Behind Baekje forces, elite Silla cavalry appeared. The conscript realized he was merely a peasant with a spear, not a warrior. Most forces perished, though guerrilla resistance continued for years. Eventually, over 700 Baekje refugees evacuated to Japan, settling permanently. Thousands more followed. This pivotal moment ended Japan's continental involvement. Relationships with unified Korean peninsula under Silla permanently soured. Japan turned inward, focusing exclusively on internal development. Chapter 7, Heijo-kyo, Japan's first great capital. In 710, authorities proposed establishing a permanent capital. Emperor Kamu approved constructing Heijo-kyo, Japan's first fixed capital city. Nothing like this 100,000-person metropolis had existed before. Nobles, commoners, and slaves inhabited various districts. International residents included Persian travelers and Chinese scholars. The Grand Imperial Repository Shoswan housed royal treasures and international gifts, symbolizing imperial legitimacy. Indian monk Bodhisena arrived, seeking Buddhist truth. The imperial court granted him temple land. In 741, Emperor Shomu ordered constructing a great Buddha statue at Todaiji Temple. This 16-meter-high, 500-ton bronze statue required half the population's contributions and over a decade's work. In 752, Bodhisena performed the eye-opening ceremony before 10,000 guests and 4,000 dancers. When Bodhisena painted the Buddha's eyes, the statue spiritually awakened. The ceremonial brush remains preserved in Shosoin Treasury today. Decades later, Buddhist religious centers gained excessive state influence. Emperor Kamu, ascending in 781, determined to break this control by relocating the capital. After unsuccessful Nagaoka attempt in 784, Heijo-kyo was founded in 794, eventually becoming Kyoto. The city housed 1,182 noble families, one-third tracing lineage to Chinese and Korean ancestors. Libraries contained over 1,500 Chinese classics. Kyoto remained imperial capital until 1869. Chapter 8, The Unconquerable Emishi Warriors. Japan's northern borders remained contested. The Emishi people, living in wooden valley villages, hunted, gathered, and farmed semi-wild rice fields. They acknowledged no southern overlords, controlling their own destiny through independent chiefs. 8th and 9th century Japanese courts considered these free peoples barbarians. Modern research suggests mixed ethnicity, possibly including Ainu ancestry. Periodically, some Emishi tribes accepted resettlement within Japanese territory, though circumstances remain unclear. Early 8th century expeditions achieved little against skilled Emishi horsemen. In 774, Emperor Kamu declared the Great Pacification Era, deploying massive conscript armies. However, non-professional peasant soldiers struggled against warrior-born Emishi defenders who ambushed effectively before vanishing into dense forests. In 789, Emishi chieftain Aterui orchestrated a devastating ambush at Kuromo River. His 1,000 warriors roared battle cries that echoed through valleys, terrifying 4,000 Yamato troops below. The cavalry charged down forested mountains, breaking enemy formations. Panicked soldiers fled toward the river, where over 1,000 drowned and 1,250 more abandoned weapons. More campaigns followed, but mounting domestic opposition forced change. In 811, victory was declared despite nothing changing. The Emishi continued living freely for another 400 years until cultural assimilation, not conquest, integrated the North into Japan. Chapter 9, The Golden Age of Cultural Exchange. In 717, young diplomat Abe no Nakamaro joined an embassy departing for Tang China's capital Chang'an. Only 2 of 4 ships survived the treacherous journey. Arriving in this million-person city, Nakamaro marveled at diverse international residents and magnificent infrastructure. Between 607 and 839, 21 missions visited China. The first nearly caused war by suggesting equality between nations. However, these missions acquired religious knowledge, laws, technology, cuisine, agriculture, industry, culture, and international respect, despite accepting barbarian status from China. Nakamaro never returned home. His ship ran aground in northern Vietnam. He died in Chang'an aged 72 in 770, remaining a symbol of peaceful friendship between China and Japan. Chapter 10. Kyoto's Literary Renaissance. By the 10th century, weak central rule caused countryside chaos. Viking raids plagued Europe, Mayan kingdoms declined, China faced division, and epidemics ravaged globally. Korean conflict and Chinese warfare ended diplomatic missions. Immigration dried up, trade faltered, and intellectual exchange faded. Provincial control disappeared as the court retreated inward. Despite calamity, Kyoto experienced remarkable cultural flowering. Poetry volumes were preserved, gorgeous clothing recorded, sophisticated music composed. Most wonderfully, a great literary tradition emerged. Murasaki Shikibu wrote the world's first novel, The Tale of Genji, in serial form during the early 11th century. Court women brushed witty, ironic reflections into diaries still enjoyed today. Lady Sei Shonigan, court celebrity influencer, considered commoners little better than worms. She observed their threadbare, unperfumed clothes and naked, gaping children. Sei believed males mated without poetic courting, living with lovers' parents until wandering elsewhere or succumbing to disease. Females nursed offspring themselves, lacking wet nurses. Sei's refined approach involved poetry exchanges, perfumed letters, calculated coquettishness, and strategic rejection of favors. Though mastering love's game, even Sei sometimes failed. Chapter 11. Rise of the Samurai. While nobles lived closeted existences, Eastern events developed that would impact modern times. Warrior clans serving hereditary military commanders emerged, called samurai, meaning to serve. By the 11th century, during Europe's chivalry dawn, powerful samurai clans controlled the imperial court. The Taira clan leader Kiyomori installed his 3-year-old grandson as Emperor Antoku. Eastern rival Minamoto clan leader Yoritomo raised armies and marched west. Chapter 12. The Taira and Minamoto War. Taira generals retreated to Kyoto without fighting. Following years saw eastern and northern territories fall to Minamoto forces, while Taira lands suffered natural disasters, famine, and pestilence. In 1184, 100,000 Taira troops marched north. Battle joined at Kurakara following honorable samurai protocols until nightfall. Minamoto forces sent flaming bulls through Taira troops. During chaos, 70,000 Taira horsemen perished in one deep valley. The Taira fled Kyoto with young Emperor Antoku, treasury, and imperial regalia. Final battle occurred at Danora on swaying ship decks. When arrows rained on Emperor Antoku's boat, his grandmother held him tightly, jumping overboard, declaring, "In the depths of the ocean we have a capital." Minamoto Yoritomo received the shogun title. His warrior-ruled samurai administration removed political power from Kyoto. True power moved to eastern Kamakura. Samurai rule would last 700 years, until 1868, when the last shogun resigned and the emperor moved to new capital Tokyo. Chapter 13. Nichiren's Apocalyptic Prophecy. Priest Nichiren wrote prophetic warnings about corrupt priests, social breakdown, natural disasters, and foreign invasions. Young rulers disliked being called evil. Rival priests with ruler's ear resented being called devious. Nobody wanted hearing about marauders slaughtering, raping, and enslaving. Nichiren faced execution at Kataise. As the sword hovered above his neck, he prayed to the moon god. Suddenly, brilliant light rent the sky. The sword fell as executioners fled. Nichiren stood alone with the sea, stars, and moon. Nichiren's predictions proved accurate. Environmental catastrophe, natural disasters, and weakening government caused social breakdown and starvation. The Mongolian apocalypse was approaching. Chapter 14. The First Mongolian Invasion of 1274. Kublai Khan's first letter arrived in 1266, proposing friendly relations. Japan's ignorance about Mongolian empire size and power led to ignoring these communications. In 1274, Mongolian troops stormed Hakata Bay. Waves of arrows darkened skies. Thunder roared from ground-level explosives, scattering samurai flesh everywhere. These Mongolian devils seemed controlling heaven itself. Samurai fled from deities rather than men. Next morning, invaders had vanished. A heaven-sent typhoon destroyed many enemy ships, forcing survivors back to Korean harbors. Japan had been lucky. Chapter 15. Preparing for the Second Invasion. Young Shogun Hojo Tokumune ordered massive defensive preparations. Coastal walls were constructed, lookouts posted permanently, troop numbers multiplied, and weapons redesigned. Kublai Khan smashed his fist furiously. These barbarians had executed his peace envoys, nations had been pulverized for lesser offenses, his generals, fresh from reuniting China, turned eastward. 2 fleets would sail for Japan. 900 ships from Korea and 3,500 from southern China, carrying 142,000 men. This represented history's biggest invasion force, not exceeded until Allied Normandy invasions in 1944. Hojo Tokumune was terrified, knowing his fate if Mongolians reached Kamakura. As mere regent, not royal blood, his end would be creative and prolonged. Wild riders chased him through nightmares. His spiritual counselor, Chinese Zen master Mugaku Sojun, shared how Mongolian riders approached his Chinese temple. Mugaku knelt unmoving as flames crackled around him. The approaching rider drew his sword. Mugaku whispered, "I searched the universe and found the answer. People are empty, even Buddha's teachings avoid. Your great sword will be as lightning cutting the spring breeze." The warrior bowed low and departed. Mugaku advised Tokumune to meditate, finding fear's source within. Tokumune screamed, "Victory!" Mugaku smiled, recognizing the lion's roar. Tokumune requested all temples and shrines pray for victory. Japan was alert. Chapter 16, The Divine Wind That Saved Japan. Kikuchi Takafusa watched waters boil with enemy ships on June 21, 1281. His family had guarded this border for 600 years since Baekje's fall. The Korea-based fleet had ravaged Tsushima and Iki Islands again. Fierce fighting prevented landings in Hakata Bay. Great ships remained threatening, awaiting delayed Chinese reinforcements. Defenders launched nighttime raids, boarding Mongolian ships, killing crews and firing vessels. Pandemic broke out, thousands perished, ships began rotting. When the China fleet finally arrived months late, hope seemed lost. Retired Emperor Kameyama sent offerings to divine ancestor Amaterasu at Ai's shrine, imploring intervention. That evening, a storm exploded from clear August skies. Wind roared, waves rose higher than mastheads. Storm god Susanoo was doing Sister Amaterasu's bidding. When the storm passed, the Great Khan's vast army was nothing but bodies and driftwood gently lapping Kyushu shores in Amaterasu's bright summer radiance. In China, Mongolians never recovered from this massive defeat. Though Chinese domination struggled until 1368, it had received a mortal blow. Against all odds, Japan's mythical mother Amaterasu, helped by storm god brother, had won. A new Japanese unity was forged. The island country of rival clans, competing power centers, and divided factions had, under foreign invasion threat, established feeling it never fully enjoyed before. One nation united against a common enemy. Japan would remain Japan. If this incredible journey through Japan's ancient history captivated you, subscribe now for more untold stories of empires, warriors, and divine interventions that shaped our world. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our next epic historical adventure.